The International Pentecostal Holiness Church has over the years been hogging the headlines for all the wrong reasons. The leadership crisis and internal factional battles emerged in 2016 after the death of Bishop Galyton Modise. The IPHC is reported to have about 2 million members. Brothers Tshepiso and Leonard Modise claim to be the rightful leaders of the church. However, a third contender, Michael Sandlana, reportedly has 3 million members and is leading the biggest faction of the church. Well, let's try and make more sense of this. We're joined by IPHC spokesperson, Priest Vusi Ndala. Priest Ndala, appreciate your time. Provide some context, if you will, on the succession battle within the IPHC following the death of Bishop Galyton Modise in 2016, which obviously has led to the current situation.
Good evening, Hugo. Thank you very much for inviting us to express our stance in terms of the issues around the leadership succession battle of the IPHC. And great good evening to the 405 or Newzroom Afrika viewers at home. In essence, the battle started in 2016. I'm going to be short in giving that background, and whereby at the passing on of His Grace M.G. Modise, and Tshepiso Modise at that particular point in time imposed himself as the leader of the church, but the congregation rejected him for reasons, obviously, that could take us another 4 or 5 hours to advance, but I'm not going to go to that. That was in 2016. And in 2019, subsequent to his younger brother, Leonard Modise, actually supporting him in his mission to become the leader of the church, then he filed an application in court to say that in actual fact, he is a leader of the church, not his brother that he supported 3 years earlier. And therefore, that case was consolidated with his brother's case, which has become now known as the Succession Battle Court case. But to tell you, that case, which ran for over 7 years, came to a conclusion on the 24th of July when the 2 brothers, Tshepiso Modise and Leonard Modise, permanently withdrew and renounced their claim to become or to claim that they are leaders of the church as a result. And therefore, as we speak, there should be, and there is no dispute of leadership in the IPHC. The International Pentecost Holiness Church is currently under the leadership of His Grace successor M.G. Sandlana, the only IPHC. The rest who call themselves IPHC, they are doing so illegally, and they are doing so in defiance to their own decisions that they've made of permanently withdrawing contestation of the leadership of the church. Where we should be right now, we should not be talking about any factions. We should not be talking about a number or group of IPHC. We should be talking about one IPHC, which is the IPHC, as I said, that is under the leadership of His Grace successor, M.G. Sandlana. Anyone who continues to say he is a leader of the IPHC at this moment, he is in defiance of the decisions that they've made and the order that was issued by the court as a result of their permanent withdrawal.
Now, you've talked about the brothers, the 2 brothers a little while ago, and that they no longer dispute the leadership of the church. Are they therefore towing the line? Are they still members of the church? Are they now under the guidance or the leadership of Michael Sandlana?
No, they are not, as we are saying. They still continue to call themselves leaders of the church, and they still continue, as we have pronounced in July after that very similar court order, to say there should be no one who uses the church uniform other than the IPHC members led by His Grace M.G. Sandlana. There should be no one that calls themselves IPHC. There should be no one calling themselves the leaders, but they continue to do so despite their own decisions they have made, and despite the court order that is in front of them that says there is an IPHC where they contested to be members. Right now, according to the protocols of the church, they should not even be members of the church, and they know the procedure that they need to follow so that they become members of the church officially and also to be under the leadership of His Grace successor, M.G. Sandlana. But at the moment, they are both in defiance of those protocols.
Priest Ndala, there's an African proverb that says that when two elephants fight, it is the grass that bears the brunt of that fight. Yes. And I suppose in this instance, to use that analogy, is the congregation. Where is the congregation in all of this? Is the congregation split? How are they dealing with this? Because I'd imagine that there must be a measure of confusion.
Yes, of course. Like you've introduced this subject, Hugo, you did indicate that the majority of the congregation and whose acceptance is received by all other factions that are contesting to be leaders of the church. The majority is under the leadership of His Grace successor, M.G. Sandlana. Indeed, there have been killings, there have been deaths in the process, but people use Stalingrad strategy in order to gain favors, in order to settle factional battles. But to this day, as I've said, for over 7 years, members of the church are not stupid, they are not naive, they know the truth, but there are those, obviously, who pull along to other sides to support and be in favor of those who say are the leaders where they are not. At this moment, Hugo, all I can tell you, all members of the church, they know the truth, they know who's the rightful leader of the church. But we can assure you, the battle is not over. There are 3 court cases that are before the courts right now relating to the trademarks, relating to the eviction of the group in Zirwacom, and related to the use of the name of the church, that at the end will settle this matter once and for all. So much as the contestation of leadership is settled, but there are other matters that ultimately will address the question that you are asking now that are currently before the courts.
There was a press briefing yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Walk us through some of the issues that were discussed.
In the last 2 years, Hugo, we experienced and witnessed the rogueness of police, obviously being used by our opposition, in particular the Zirwacom group called BGP, led by Leonard Modise. They use police, and you know what? For what reason? For one and only reason, but to tarnish, to humiliate and harass our spiritual leader so that he can actually decide not to even run the church, so that he can sort of like despair and even say to the congregation, you know what, I'm tired of this battle, and he can get arrested and all those sorts of things. So what has happened? These police, they use their misconduct, they misuse state resources to rush, to arrest. They arrest with haste, without proper investigations, with unfair processes and procedures, just to arrest our father. That has happened. So last year in March, we marched to the headquarters of the SEPS, demanding that the Minister of Police address these concerns and grievances that we are concerned with. We experienced a quietened down time up until recently, when the very same modus operandi that is used by the police now re-emerges once again. So there is this particular case where Leonard Modise claims that our spiritual leader, His Grace successor, M.G. Sandlana, stolen 2 buses that belong to the church. And now, what do? They use a propaganda by employing particular media or houses and journalists who we believe those journalists are bogus. They are not representing the journalism profession properly, and other wannabe social media influencers. So they use them so that the police can follow their source of information, which are lies, which are not truthful, just to secure or to settle their factional battles. So the media briefing on Friday was meant to make a public statement to the public, to the Minister of Police and management of the police, to say these are the kind of police that you send to represent society or to provide safety and security and law enforcement sort of peace and order. But now they are not doing that. Instead, they are perpetuating a propaganda used by their masters so that they can settle the factional battles, as I've indicated earlier. So the media briefing was to say there are rogue and corrupt police that have been used by opposition to settle their score so that they can get to our father. Nothing else. They want our father to be arrested. I would take you, if there was time, the merits of the case of what made us to make that statement. Just one or two issues, Hugo.
Maybe Ntate Ndala, you could include the following question in your response.
Yes.
And that is
Yes.
I'd imagine that in fact, having a public address in the form of the media briefing regarding the police is a move of last resort. Had you engaged the police, had you engaged the authorities to discuss what your opinion is around how you feel harassed by these individuals that were members of the police?
I will answer that. This case where in the last 3 weeks, what has happened 6 months ago, like I'm saying, these social wannabe influencers, and I can name who this person is. He goes by the name of Modibe, nicknamed Vladimir. So he's been posting without care and concern of private information of our spiritual leader, posting that in his ex-social media page, perpetuating that propaganda to say our spiritual father is a murderer, he's a thief, he's a thuggery, and so forth and so on. So the police acted on that information, which is a lie. Now, these police, instead of following proper procedures and addressing the questions that we have asked them, they disregard that. Instead, they rush to have the statements. They are rushing to arrest. And then when we are quiet, then they do those at the benefit or at the benefit of those who sent them. Now, to come back to your question, we are tired, Hugo, of complaining to the police ministry, to police stations that are closer to us, to where we operate, to the IP, and nothing happens. There are cases that we have opened. Nothing happened on them beyond the facts that we have provided. The police instead are not arresting. They are even discharging amidst the facts that are presented before them. But when it comes to our father on what you call trumped up charges, then they will rush to arrest. There are two cases where our father appears before the courts. Those cases were rushed for arrest, but nothing has happened. Those court cases, as we speak, they get postponed and postponed for no other reasons, because the investigations was not done and there are no facts before them. Now, we reported many times, we wrote letters to the Minister of Police. We had the biggest march in this country that any church has ever organized in March last year. That memorandum, up to today, we have never got a report of what they have done to address the concerns and issues that we have raised. We have opened the cases with IP. Nothing has happened. So clearly it shows that those police, and we've said it before, and we are saying that without any fear of contradiction, that those police, the manner in which they are treating us, it's clear, and it tells us that they are biased towards the other factions, right, or the factions of the church. Hence, we resort to media briefings to sort of address these issues. And we've said it even to say we are tired, we no longer have trust with the police. We will do everything in our power within the ambit of the Constitution to address concerns that we have against the police, as it were, like we are doing media address like that, so that the public knows, and other methods that allows us, according to the Constitution, we will do so. But as we speak, Hugo, we are tired. We don't have trust with the police any longer.
Priest Vusi Ndala, IPHC spokesperson, speaking to us on the IPHC factionalism battles as they continue. Appreciate your time.